Hey guys, this is Loony and welcome to yet another episode of my Loony Hardcore Adventure. Today we are taking a big step forward because we're getting to the part of the game that is actually very interesting to me. And at this part of the game, we want to think about how can we get resources as quickly as possible. The reason for this is very straightforward. For the projects that I want to build, I need tons and tons of resources. But to be completely fair, I would like to spend as little time as possible getting those resources and as much time as possible working on the actual projects, because that is where we get the results. So starting with this episode, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my thought process going into this. How do I get all the resources I need for my projects while spending as little time as possible getting them? Let's use this sand collecting trip as an example to talk about what are the things I want to consider here. The first thing is I have to carry a lot of sand back to my base, and if I just fly out, collect the inventory, fly back, I'm gonna spend a lot of time traveling and not so much time mining. So what I did is I took a bunch of shulker boxes. I don't know exactly how many I need because I'm new to this whole process. But I figured if I take one chest and a bunch of shulkers, I can just put the chest down wherever I'm gonna go get the sand and put all the shulkers inside, so I have a free inventory. Then I figured that I wanted to have a lot of shovels with me, but I don't need to have 10 shovels in my inventory because it's 10 inventory slots where I only need one shovel at one moment. The other thing I want to consider is how do I go about mining the sand? How do I hit it? Do I go in strips? Do I go in circles? And I've been doing this a little bit intuitively. I could spend a bit more time to figure out the exact best way to do it by testing different ways. But what I found now is that it just goes really quickly if you do like a sweeping motion going left to right and back. And on one direction you hit the bottom layer of sand and then you hit one layer above it. Because it feels like you have to take much less steps while mining the sand, so you're saving a lot of time because you're not spending time moving, you're spending time shoveling instead. It should be noted, however, that by going about it this way, I'm making a complete mess of this biome. I'm tearing it up, I'm leaving a lot of blocks on the ground uncollected, and I have to walk around after to collect it, so I'm still taking steps, which I'm pretty sure I could do a better job here. But for now, I feel like we are well above the 80% efficiency rate. Like we could do a little bit better, but not much. So it is really okay for now. We're getting lots of sand in not so much time. One other thing I want to point out here is that if you've been listening closely to the game audio, you might have been hearing a lot of skeleton sounds in the background. And interestingly enough, not much else. This means that there is probably a skeleton spawner underground here, which could be very useful if we need a lot of bone meal. So I'm just gonna write it down so I don't forget, and then when we get to the stage where I want more bone meal, for example for a tree farm, we could go back here and set up a skeleton grinder, or we could consider going with a different setup with composters. And at this point, I'm gonna write down the skeletons anyway, but I'm inclined to go with the composter setup because I could place it inside of my Ocean Monument base, and it would be really convenient to have everything together there. And I'll explain you why later, because I have a very interesting idea for the place. When the sun started setting, we got back to our shulkers, back to our chest, and we just put in the last bit of sand before mining all of these shulkers and then the chest. And what happens is that all the empty shulkers just pop on the ground into our inventory, and we are ready for a speedy escape so we don't get in trouble with any mobs that are spawning in because nighttime is starting. And we're flying away with phantoms behind us. This time it went alright, but phantoms can be a bit weird at night, and they can actually put on the jets, start giving chase, and hit you even if you're going pretty much full speed with the elytra. As you can see, I have my F3 open right now and I'm using it to navigate back to my base coordinates. But there's a lot more information on here, and if you're paying attention, you can actually see that we are on day 98 of this hardcore survival world, which means that we're closing up on day 100. And I spoke about this earlier. I tried to get as much done as we could within the first 100 days so we could actually make an interesting video about what happened during this first 100 days, and I'm pretty happy with it because I think we did a lot so far. But even though we did a lot, we are also just getting started. All the exciting stuff is yet to come because we have our ocean monument, but to turn this place into a solid base where we can start the rest of our mega projects, we need to clear more room because I want to have lots of things inside of here and there is not enough space just within a monument building. So we started laying down sand strips, isolating sections of water, so that after that we could drain it without getting shot to death by a bunch of guardians that are still hiding underneath the floor right now. When I actually got to the place where I was starting to place the sand, I decided the best way to do this was to use an auto clicker on my right mouse button, because with the amount of sand blocks that we're gonna place here, it's gonna be no fun at all doing it with my finger. I mean, this is seriously gonna hurt. You can get an injury doing this. It's so repetitive. So what I did is I put an auto clicker and I was experimenting with speeds a little bit, and eventually I settled at 1 click per 150 milliseconds, which is a lot faster than I'm gonna click myself anyway, so I'm also winning some efficiency here. I spent the entire nighttime inside of the monument where no mobs can spawn, which is completely safe, placing sand down in the strips. But when it was daytime again, I realized that I need a lot more sand to make this entire project work, so I flew out to the desert biome and did the sand collection process all over again. We stayed in the desert until it turned to night again, and then we went back to base to go back inside of our safe monument structure and start placing sand blocks again. Right now we're getting to a stage where we have to prepare for a project and it's gonna take a while to do it. And I feel like the best way to go about this is to have a few tasks going on at the same time that you cycle through, because you will get to change it up a little bit. You don't have to spend 2 hours doing one thing. You can spend 45 minutes here and then 30 minutes working on something else, and you don't get completely bored out of your mind, but also you start seeing progress everywhere. And then when I get to the point where something is close to finished, like I can see the finish line, that's when I push through and just focus on the one project, because every time you complete one part of it, it feels like an accomplishment. It feels like you're moving forward and you're getting closer to building the base of your dreams. This is clearly what we are aiming for now. We're trying to take our fantasies out of our head and make them take actual shape. As you can see, I did change up my camera setting here, and this is an interesting thing. I think I picked it up from a Filza stream, but I recently changed my F5 to a button on the side of my mouse. And this makes it so that I can toggle between my camera settings really quickly, and it's easier to use different ones. And the reason I'm changing it up here is that I hear a lot of guardian noises below the floor. I hear the streams charging up, and I want to know if they're targeting me or if they're targeting a squid or something else underwater. Because if they are targeting me, I want to get out of the way. If they're not, I just want to keep placing sand, because the quicker I get all the sand done, the quicker I can just get rid of these guardians entirely. Because right now I'm working towards a point where they have no water to spawn in, except for the source blocks that are going to be inside of my guardian farm. And the guardian farm is actually gonna be really compact compared to the size of the monument. Right now we are exactly at the 100 days in-game mark, and we cleared the dragon, we got our elytra, we have 2 backup elytras, we have 30 shulker boxes, we managed to raid an ocean monument, we drained the inside, and we're already clearing it out. So we have been at work. And all this work is gonna pay off really soon when we get this base finished up and start moving forward on a bigger scale. Now I realize that this episode I have been talking a lot more than before. And if you're still here watching, first of all, that's amazing, I love it, thanks. But I also want to hear it from you, because I want to know what kind of format you really like for the episodes, so I can give you exactly that. If you're still here, let me know down in the comments. I'll see you next episode, and thanks a bunch for watching.